Thank you, Mr. Chair, and we appreciate your being here, Mr. Patterson. It's been several years ago, but Steve Shabbat and I had journeyed down to Columbia and met with DEA officials there and went out into the jungles, basically, and looked at all the efforts we had at trying to help Columbia combat cocaine. And it was a huge problem at that time. And the FARCs were pretty well running things when we were there, but it made a great deal of impact and seemed to have dramatically cut the amount of coca that's raised and cocaine that's sent up. We were told that 2/3 of the cocaine came up by fast boats on the Caribbean side, Gulf of Mexico side, and about 1/3 went up to California. And then they put in Mexico, and I asked why they didn't just go ahead to the beach in Texas or California, and our DEA agent said it was because they're business people, and the odds of getting it across the Mexico-U.S. border were so much better than if they landed even on an abandoned beach. Back then, we didn't have drones that could be used, and it's my understanding, and I want to know if it's correct, that we have dramatically impacted the amount of cocaine coming up from Colombia. Is that correct?
I think for a period of time, I think with the peace process with the FARC, and this is a relatively long answer, and I think you may have more that you have that you want to talk about, and I'd be happy to come sit down with you. There is a real concern, I shouldn't even say concern, there is a real issue with the production of cocaine in Colombia yet again that I think we have to wrestle with. We've had these conversations with the government of Colombia and our counterparts in the law enforcement world. There's a lot of challenges in this space in what they were dealing with the FARC, but it is problematic in terms of production again.
Is it still true that most of what they send north to the United States goes across the water, puts into Mexico, and comes across our Mexico-U.S. border?
Yeah, Central America into Mexico, Mexico up, or directly into Mexico, correct.
Yeah. Do they skip most of the Central American countries and just come in at Mexico?
I think it depends on the organization, sir. So, I mean, regardless, it's coming across our southern border.
Okay. Now, I know there has been great issue raised in recent years about the disparity, the way we punished, federal penalties for possession of crack cocaine as opposed to powder cocaine. And Dan Lundgren, that was here, had pointed out that in the 80s, most of the Republicans were following the lead of the Congressional Black Caucus members who were saying, like Charlie Rangel, that this crack cocaine is a scourge on the African-American community, and if you're not willing to really come down with powerful punishments for even more so for crack than for powder, then you're discriminating against the black community. And for that reason, people like Dan said, we voted for it because that's what they said was best for the black community. Obviously, since then, we've found there really should not be a disparity. And I realize I've just got a minute, so let me just go directly to this question. We now have drones. How much help do you think you could use from drones? Have you made a specific request for a fleet of drones to help patrol both our Mexico-U.S. border and the Gulf of Mexico and Pacific?
So, sir, we haven't specifically. I know that we work.
Don't you think they'd help?
We work well with, obviously, CBP. So I view it more as we would pass actionable intelligence to CBP to work on that particular issue on the border.
You wouldn't want a fleet of drones for DEA's own use?
That's a good question. I think in terms of border security, we're going to leave that to CBP and others.
Well, I understand,
to work
but
on that.
You got the Gulf of Mexico and you got California.
Right. It's something I'd certainly think about and come back to you.
We'd encourage that. Thank you. I yield back.